Hi, I'm Jacky Blisson. Thanks for joining me. In this series, we're breaking down the fundamentals of wine structure. Last week, we had a look at acidity and its role in wine tasting, and today we're going to talk about alcohol. Maybe you think that alcohol is only important for wine in terms of its mellowing effect after a hard day's work, but did you know that alcohol also has an important role to play in the taste and the texture of specific wines? So let's start with the basics. Wine is basically just fermented grape juice. What happens during fermentation? Sugar from the pulp of the grape is converted into ethanol and CO2 by yeast. Ethanol is also called ethyl alcohol. So how does alcohol affect the way wine tastes? Well, in Michael Schuster's excellent book, Essential Wine Tasting, which I recommend everybody read, he recommends a simple experiment that you can try at home if you like. Take a simple glass of water. Then pour yourself another glass with 25% vodka and 75% water. Mix it up, taste the plain water, and then taste the vodka mixture, and you'll see that the vodka mixture is actually subtly sweet in comparison. Alcohol also brings a hint of bitterness similar to that found in tonic water, but how strongly we perceive this bitterness depends on how powerful the wine is, but it also depends on the individual taster. Our taste buds contain taste receptor cells that allow us to perceive things like sweetness, saltiness, bitterness, and so forth. The bitterness receptors, there are actually 25 of them compared to only 2 for salty type flavors. How strongly we perceive that we taste this bitterness depends on our genes. Alcohol also has a major effect on the texture of wine. We tend to think of wine tasting as mostly to do with smell and taste, but there's a definite tactile component to wine tasting. Some call this mouthfeel, the way a wine can seem very smooth or conversely very chalky. A wine can seem very thin or can seem very thick and weighty. The thick, weighty sensation, also called viscosity, is brought by alcohol. It gives a roundness, it gives a body and weight to the wine. If you go back to that vodka mixture versus the plain glass of water and you taste them again side by side, you'll see that the glass of water seems much leaner and lighter next to the vodka mixture, which has a sort of a roundness, that viscosity that we were talking about. The mouth coating effect of the viscosity of alcohol also has the added bonus of really diffusing aromas and flavors all around the palate. Another sensation that alcohol brings to wine is a slight warming feeling on the finish of a higher alcohol wine. Overly high alcohol wines will feel sort of burning and spirity, but slight warming sensation can be very pleasant on a wine. It all comes back to balance. Wines that are lacking in alcohol can feel thin and dilute on the finish. Wines, as I mentioned, that have too much, you get that burning sensation. So you need to find a middle ground, and it really depends on the body, on the tannin, on the acidity, all the other factors working together to create balance. Most wine today is roughly between 12% and 14.5% alcohol, but be careful with the labeling because European wines have a 0.5% legal variance level. So if a wine says 13% on the label, it could actually be 12.5 or 13.5. But American wines have a 1% variance. So a 15% wine that you see in the store from the States could actually be 16% alcohol. Buyer beware. Excessive consumption of alcohol obviously carries major health risks, so it's important to practice moderation. What does that mean? Well, obviously it depends on our weight, our height, our sex, but most health officials talk about 1 to 2 glasses a day, a glass being about 150 milliliters or 5 ounces. Moderate wine drinking has actually been found to help clear fat from the arteries and reduce the blood's tendency to clot, thereby reducing the risk of heart attacks, strokes, and heart disease. So a glass of wine a day might actually keep the doctor away. Thanks for joining me, and if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. Santé!